So from the variable view, you will see the name of the variable and the type of variable, what that is, what is the label of it, and also what is the value. And other than checking from the SPSS information, you can also have those information in the book. Okay, in the textbook, at the end, you will have a syntax. Syntax A, um, I'm sorry, you have appendix. Appendix A on pages 321, you will see that the code book for all data sets. That's pretty much tell you what you have been seeing on the data sheets, SPSS data sheets here. So the code book will tell you that, for example, the first variable we have here is prestige 80, PRESTG 80, and it's a numerical data, which means that you can calculate them. Some of the variable can be like a common or string variable, and that's depending on the setting. If this is a variable that you don't want calculation, for example, it's an open-ended questions that you enter the content or answer of certain questions, then it's not calculable. So that will be set as a string variable. But for all the variables here in GSS data, they're all numerical. So in other words, you can use any variables to do calculation, no problem. The width is the how many digits that they allowed, for that variable value. Decimal is for the number of a digit after the decimal point. So normally we set that into 0. But if you change the decimal, okay, when you click that cell, you can see that there is an up and down arrow that you can change the value or you can type in directly. So for example, like the first variable, prestige 80, if you change the decimal into 1, and then you go back to data view, see what happened. See, this is the first variable, prestige 80, and when you change decimal to 1, you will see that all value become 3.0, 2.0, 0.0, 1.0. Yeah, they have the decimal point, have a 1 digit after the decimal point. So for some cases, it's necessary, but for most cases, when you don't have a decimal value, then you don't need that. So we set that to 0. The next column is a label. So that is kind of like a description or definition for each of the variable. So variable name is a very short, brief name, but label is an interpretation that you can write down more detail, and you can define and change your label yourself if you want to. Value, that is basically the categories for each of the questions that in the questionnaire. So for example, the first variable, prestige 80, that is a question asked about respondents' occupational prestigious score based on 1980s. And the prestigious score, if you take a look at the value, when you click that cell, it will pop up a window. And then you can see that there are value ranged from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 different categories. 0 means don't know, not applicable. And 1 means low, low prestigious. 2 means moderate prestigious level. And 3 means a high prestigious level. So the value basically tell you that how many categories that designed in the questionnaire for these questions. Okay, and then missing means missing value. So if there is any missing value for that happen, in the survey for this question, And that would be the value represent the missing value for those missing cases. Okay, finally, at the end, this is alignment. You can set up in the right or wrong or left. Normally, we set up in the right because it's all number. Measure that we have normally we have a 4 different measure based on the textbook we learned in research methods class. That we have ordinal, right? Ordinal, we have a nominal, we have an interval, we have a ratio. But in SPSS, they only have 3 different measures. That is nominal, like a gender, male, female, or like a region, like California, Texas, the state name. That's nominal. Ordinal, like a social class, from low to high. Low class, middle class, high class, or elite class. Scale is a combination of interval and ratio. So in SPSS, they treat interval and ratio variables as one. So as far as this variable measures is based on the interval design or ratio design, you can all select scale. If you collect the data by yourself, then you will have to do the setting on the variable view by yourself. But since this is a GSS data, it's already been set, so they already defined the measure for you. So you can easily operating this data sets. So okay. So that's the basic part of the SPSS. When you pull out a new data set, then the most important part, number 1, is to take a look at how many variables do you have, whether or not they have a label clearly defined, and you can take a look at the data view and get a sense of what kind of a variable you have and where to find your information.